How is our food supply being poisoned right now?
From seed to stem, let me tell you, we don't look to preventative medicine. We sort of look to get something first and then let's try and fix it. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like, let's prevent it so we don't have to deal with it at all.
The boundaries that we have in Western health, let's address and treat symptoms. You're coming at this with a completely different perspective, which is, well, what if there are no boundaries? The body wants to heal.
So if you're not replacing that fat, especially on the brain, that's why they say that women typically get mom brain.
The doctor said I'm fine. The blood tests are perfect, but I'm so sick. Why am I so sick? And I'm like, you know why? Because you're never going to be healthier than your cells.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road. Sheila Stirling, PhD, is a holistic wellness and relationship coach, a nutritionist, a microscopist. Her modalities are many, including certified lymphologist, PhD in natural health, certified live blood microscopist, functional nutritionist, light and sound therapies, I'm still going, acutonics and meditation teacher, Reiki master, conscious channel, and an array of energetic healing modalities, including soul sonics, which was personally developed by Sheila.
She's an award-winning author in the field of balanced brain function and de-stressing of the mind, body, and soul. Her latest book is Anatomy of Healing and Wellness. Sheila is an inspirational speaker, educator, group facilitator, and community leader.
Sheila is also the creator, organizer of the Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, where professionals and the public can come together and learn about the latest in holistic wellness.
Sheila often says, your health is your wealth, and staying 30 till you're 90 is even written on the cover of her
most recent book. Somehow we had a little editing issue on the intro, but yeah, I'm getting a hot flash right now just because of that. But yeah, I love that. Staying 30. Now I've heard anti-aging and wellness and longevity and health span, all those. I've heard lots of neat little sayings, but this is one of my favorite. Staying 30 till you're 90.
Yeah. And then we'll decide, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
100% right.
That's something that I've really loved about producing this podcast is learning so much about how to take care of our health now so that we can age, gracefully. I don't know how to put it, but just having the education and the tools so that we can implement them now. And so when I am seasoned, that I'm not looking and doing like the typical American right now. Like it makes me excited to age.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll call it blooming, from caterpillars to butterflies. So it's all part of the process. And it is.
You're saying when you're seasoned, are you not taking responsibility for the spice that you currently have?
No, I will take 100% responsibility for the spice that I currently have. I was born with it.
That's where our girls get it. Oh my goodness. Well, let's jump right in. Let's get into what you're passionate about, Sheila.
All right, Sheila, what are you most passionate about right now, and what are you doing about it?
Well, okay, thank you for asking that question. Actually, my passion is and has been, it's actually raising the consciousness of humanity. I'm somebody that's sort of been across the veil a couple of times, and those were my instructions, basically. I'm well into everything to do with health and wellness. Obviously, I believe, and I'm doing it myself. So I believe everybody can stay 30 till they're 90 if we just, have the proper tools. And that's kind of what my conference is about. People need tools to be able to implement that. It's a nice phrase and it sounds simple, but it's pretty much like putting together a 40,000 piece puzzle. And the more pieces you have, the more successful you are, the more you can see the whole picture. So I've always been interested in health and wellness. I come from a family where diabetes and heart condition are prevalent. So at a very, very young age, I actually learned about these things. And as you get older and you go to school and you study or whatever, I was actually wanting to be a veterinarian at one point and quickly moved over, as my father had his third heart attack, quickly moved over to wanting to know more about, wait a minute, why does this happen? Why does it happen to some people and not to others? And can we do something about it? So, I got my start very, very early. Just kept going down so many rabbit holes, and one led to another. So yeah, that's how I became a blood specialist, actually, because people would come to me and they'd say, I had so many blood tests, and the doctor said I'm fine, the blood tests are perfect, but I'm so sick. Why am I so sick? And I'm like, you know why? Because you're never going to be healthier than your cells. So people don't realize how important it is to really have a live blood nutritional analysis done. And in other countries, it's actually the first diagnostic that's actually done. I think that's pretty smart. But in the West here, we don't look to preventative medicine. We sort of look to get something first and then let's try and fix it. And so I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like, let's prevent it so we don't have to deal with it at all. And as far as I'm concerned, everything is preventable. I'm someone, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners out there, if you've ever been diagnosed with something that your doctor said, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to recover from this, or, oh, well, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. And most people will take that as almost like gospel, and they walk away feeling almost defeated. Well, I'm here to tell you that I've been told that more than once, in more than a number of occasions, and uh, it's not true. You can prove them wrong. The body is miraculous, and our bodies want to be well. We just have to have the tools to give them. And so that's really where my passion is, obviously, is get everybody to stay 30 to their 90 in perfect health and wellness. So that's where everything else comes in, the functional nutrition, and of course being able to decipher and be a live blood analysis person. I can really help people because I can see diabetes 5 years before you'll ever get diagnosed with it. It's in the blood.
Wow.
And it's a whole other world down there, and it's fascinating. And so that's how I always have gone to conferences, and actually I've spoken at a lot of conferences. And one is the ANMA. It's the Alternative Medical Association. It's here in Las Vegas every year in August, and I was asked to speak just after COVID. I was asked to speak. Now, this conference is a wonderful conference. There's one little drawback. If you're not credentialed, you're not allowed on the floor. You're not even allowed in the conference. So they had a lot of different, exhibitors and people, and I knew a lot of them, and all of them sold to the public. And I'm like, okay, it's time we come out. We got to come out of the cave, and people have to uh, know that they are the healer within. You can do it. You just need to gather some information and some tools. And that is exactly how and when Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference was born, right there. When I was younger, I put on some pretty large events, and I walked out of there just sort of shaking my head, going, this is crazy. People have to know that they can do it. You don't just take what somebody says to you and say, okay, I guess I might as well give up because, well, that's what the professional said. No, your body wants to be well. And so that's how this started. And now we're in our fourth year. So that's my passion.
I love that. I was imagining you being there in veterinary science and getting your education, and you have this really personal experience with your father multiple times, by the way, and that becomes really the impetus for you to move into human sciences, right? And take the route that you have for human healing. And we're seeing that, although it's definitely not the norm, certainly not even close. It is, like you said, kind of in a cave. But we work with a lot of physicians, a lot of healthcare professionals who've come from that Western background.
Yes.
And the reason that they have moved into additional modalities, the reason that they've been open to looking at a preventative approach is because they're seeing a revolving door in their practices. They're seeing
Yeah.
the great limitations that have been set upon them, the boundaries, really. And this is exactly what
Right.
you're talking about. The boundaries that we have in Western health, which is an allopathic approach. Let's fix it primarily synthetically. After we're broken, and I shouldn't even say fix it, let's address and treat symptoms after you're
Exactly.
broken, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, you're coming at this with a completely different perspective, which is, well, what if there are no boundaries? The
Right.
body, I'm
Wants to.
inspired today, even if we were to end this right now, the body wants to heal. I've never
Yeah.
really
Body
given
wants
my
to.
body that consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. The body, every cell in our body, we got trillions of cells, and every one is intelligent, and everyone speaks to itself. And I believe it's not one way, but always, because I do have people who come to me and say, "Oh, I don't go to the doctor. I'll never go to the doctor." And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "Go to your MD. Get all the diagnostics you can. That doesn't mean you have to follow everything. Seek out people who are into more natural ways. If they, if and do some research. If somebody gives you a prescription and you see, I mean, we can just watch it on television. I don't even have to go through it. It's hard to watch those commercials. Half of them say, if you take this, you could die or bleed to death inside, but take this for your allergies. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, they're trying to get rid of hay fever, and they're taking something that could, be possibly fatal. So there's always a natural way, even switching to herbs. Basically, most of our medicines and most of our even the prescriptions, have their basis in plant medicine. Only it's isolated and turned into a form that the body can't always read and can't always understand, and that's why a lot of the medications might not be so effective for a lot of people. So I am a proponent of getting all the diagnostics you can, and knowing. I don't know how deep you want to go, but knowing when people come to me, I go, okay, what's your insulin levels? And they look at me, what's your A1C? And they're like, what? And I'm like, you're 65 and your whole family has diabetes and you don't know what your A1C is? They look at me like I'm nuts or something. And I'm like, everybody needs to know these numbers. So, it's really important to be self-educated. And I mean self-educated, and go out there and find what you're looking for. My mother was diabetic, and I never even met my grandparents because they both died from diabetes. And I'm the only one in my family. I'm fine. I don't have diabetes, um, and I eat a lot of sugar. I have to confess, I love chocolate, and I'm not giving it up. But if you know the right if you know the right way to eat it, and in what, if you know that if you eat something that has some fiber in it, and then if you eat something that has high protein, it will slow the effect that the sweet has in raising the glucose in the body. So if you have some of these things, I intermittent fast every night. I eat nothing after 5 o'clock, drink lots of water. If I'm really hungry, I'll have a poached egg or something. It's pure protein. And you'll wake up the next morning, with your numbers way better. So it's a matter of having the education and simple things. Some people need just a little adjustment. I have an 8-week program, which is a big adjustment. But if your numbers are way out of whack when you started, they won't be when you're finished. And it's worth it, because and everybody knows, whatever your passion is in life, it's just common sense. If you don't feel well, if you're ill, and when I say your health is your wealth, I mean it. Because you can't work. How can you feel passionate about going out and helping the world and helping people when you're not able to maintain yourself and you've got to stay in bed or you're ill all the time? So, I really believe it. I've been
No,
there,
I do
done
too.
that.
Even
So,
just, wanting to help your family, be a good parent or spouse. Like if you don't have your health, there's not much that you can do.
oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And especially, if you're a mother, if you're a single mother, or whatever, you especially have to take care of yourself. And I have some friends, they can, well, I feel selfish if no, you're not selfish. If a long time ago, I've done some crazy things, and I studied what's called swiftwater rescue. I seldom talk about this, but there's a reason I'm mentioning it. It was out of a university, and it was on a class 4 river up in the mountains. It was crazy. We had to rappel off of cliffs and save people that were in. I mean, not a lot of people would do something like that, but I thought it was
We want
exciting,
the
and I
footage. We want the footage.
yeah, if I could find the footage, I would give it to you. But
That's
I have
great.
the patch somewhere. But the first thing that they said to us was CYOA, and I was like, "What's that?" I didn't know what it meant. And we're standing in this raging river, and they said, "If you don't save yourself first, you can't save anybody else. If you don't do what you have to do, everybody will end up drowning." And that really kind of stuck with me because it really does lend itself to go into all kinds of things. Like, I mean, I'm kind of the poster child for it because I'm like Humpty Dumpty. I've led obviously a very active life. I've broken almost every bone in my body. I've got titanium in one of my legs and things, and I am perfect. I'm not in any pain. I have full function of everything, and I'm grateful. But if we don't take care of ourselves and really, learn to love and appreciate ourselves and how resilient our body is and how it responds to us, we have to do that first, because especially if you're raising children on your own, we have to be able to take care of them. And then you become an example, because children, unfortunately, sometimes they do as we do, not as we say, right?
Yes.
CYOA, your new health mantra,
Oh my
right?
No,
goodness.
If,
well,
if you're a mother, but seriously, if you want the greatest impact on your children for their long-term health,
yes.
you must take care of your own.
Yeah.
If you hope that your kids are going to be active, you must
Be active.
be active,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
This self-care is not selfish,
No,
and that's
not at all.
showing up here even just recently with some of the we were talking about Barbara. You and I were talking about Barbara O'Neill recently. We got to participate in a conference with Barbara.
Love that
Let's
woman. I just love her.
let's
Me
bring
too.
I,
let's put it out right here. Shall we bring Barbara O'Neill to Las Vegas?
oh, I would
Yes.
love that. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes. Bring
All
her.
right. All right.
Yeah.
We're sending this out to Barbara. We'll send this to
Okay.
her team.
Thank you.
So we were with Barbara a couple of weeks ago, and it was fun to be there with her, be at the conference. So many amazing people who had paid hundreds of dollars to come and learn. Right? These were people who many of them practitioners, but they were sponges, meaning that they were there to learn. They weren't simply there to critique. They weren't just window shopping for, hey, what's something, what's the next little healthy trend that I can get on. They really wanted answers. And Barbara talked about the essentials, the essential nutrients. And she said, number one, fiber. So, and number two, fats. Number three, protein.
Mhm.
And I can't remember if I'm mixing up protein and fats in that order. But number four, those are the essentials, right? Those are the essentials. The number one, two,
Absolutely.
three, which you've talked about, whether it's in dessert, whether it's in the order you're eating, and then the non-essentials, but lots of fun for many people, are the carbs, right? Carbohydrates, and by eating salads first, we've been teaching this to our girls. These 7 and 9 year old girls are sitting at their plate eating their salad. or their veggies or their broccoli, or their
willingly,
or their kimchi, eating their kimchi first, then following with proteins, and fats, of course, are mixed in there. And then, like you said, okay, do you want some chocolate? Do you want something? If you eat it in that order, it's going to affect your blood sugar differently than if you eat it on an empty stomach, than if you eat it in kind of the middle of the day between meals. And it's kind of a go-to carb attack snack, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to being kind of in the medley and in the order that can be most gentle and beneficial to your gut and your metabolic health.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's key. People don't realize it. And a lot of people are, they're driving down the road and they're like, oh, I'm hungry. Let's, stop in here and get this. And it's like, you're eating your heaviest carbs first, which is like a bomb in your stomach and immediately raises the glucose, which eventually is going to cause your insulin levels to rise. And that's what you really want to watch. Very few people even get that on their blood tests. I'm always advising specific tests when people come to me, to get their blood looked at. And I give them a whole list of things that are very, very important that you need. And you can ask ask your MD. And some of them will go, well, why do you want to know that? And you just say, well, because I'd like to know it, and insurance, if you have insurance, usually covers all of it or most of it. So it's important. I mean, knowledge is obviously key, because that, with all this knowledge, it brings about a wisdom, and how to turn it from knowledge to wisdom, and a better pathway for your whole life. So, and really, Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine. What was that? That was 300 years, 380 years or something before the birth of Christ. I mean, this is not a new idea. I think a lot of time it's just been sort of forgotten, it's so much easier just to stop off and buy something, until you get interested in what they put in that. And once you really dive in of what's in this stuff that they're doing, even some of the food you're buying in the grocery store, it's shocking. You will go, no, they can't, they couldn't have done that. But yes, so you really have to, we're at a time right now where you have to be educated if you want to be well. So that's why
so
we're here,
true.
right? To help.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Help raise
And
the
thank you.
consciousness. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
I think one thing that has been really surprising, as we're trying to eat better, is finding health foods like hummus and looking through the ingredients and seeing that like seed oils are number 2 listed on the ingredients. And it's like,
Right.
are you kidding me? Seed oils?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And canola oils and everything. Now, if you can
Yes.
find any organic canola oil, that's one thing. But canola oil is processed in hexane. Hexane is the same thing that they process gasoline in. And people are eating and drinking this stuff basically.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really important. And hummus is something that's very simple to make at home. So,
Yes.
and it usually tastes better, and it's fresh, and it's, you're using more whole ingredients, and that's important. I mean, that's what my 2-day event really is all about. We have all kinds of things there. I mean, all the latest therapies, like from the beamer beds to red light therapy, iridologists, people that look at the eyes and study the eyes. And it's, yeah, it's really something. It's a lot to put it together. It's a lot of work, but I love doing it, because it's part of who I am and what I do. And it's also, giving back too for the community, because we want everybody to come. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't. It's weird. I have to tell you, I was at a networking event and I met all these new people, and I've got postcards and stuff. And I'm like, are you interested in health? You would be shocked at how many people just look at me and go, no, we're not interested in health. I'm like,
Wow.
okay. And I occasionally will say, well, one day you will be. Unfortunately,
I was
a lot of
thinking
people,
that.
yeah, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't get interested until they've lost their health. I mean, people who
Mhm.
come to me, I mean, I have people that come that are healthy, but mostly they've either had heart attacks already. And these are people that are young. So, they've already had heart attacks, they've got diabetes, they've got these weird things that nobody can figure out. And I'm pretty good at puzzles, so I'm pretty good at figuring things out. Um, and more, of course, in these days and times, everything has gotten more toxic, the air and the soil and the water. So
Yes.
it's really important. And I think being in the health and wellness industry, I think is important. It would be great if every single person would get interested in it, because then we could all move forward together, right?
Yes.
Well, how often is it that we get interested in something when we don't feel the pain, right?
That's
Or
true.
if it hasn't been modeled for us
Mhm.
and become
Yeah,
something
that's true.
that we have adopted as our own. I think about being at the dinner table yesterday. We were having breakfast with some fantastic entrepreneurial women. One of the most famous actresses, or a famous actress from Mexico, um, another influencer, and we were having an amazing breakfast actually. And our daughters are there. Modeling for these women who are in their 50s, and I just said, "So, girls, what do you eat first when we sit down?" And they said, "We eat our vegetables."
And then they said, or kimchi.
Or kimchi. Yeah,
Or
we
kimchi,
literally
right,
put,
right, or kimchi. Yeah.
and these women were just their astonishment. Your kids know what kimchi is. They eat it,
Right.
and and they eat it voluntarily. And of course we don't make them eat it, but what we're working on, and I'm saying it's a work in progress. There is no destination. It is lifestyle.
Mhm.
That's
But
right.
if you don't, like, we could simply say to our children, no, no candy, no food dyes, no nothing, no, 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 no. And we could probably, at least while they're under our microscopic hawk eyes, except when they're at church in their classes, except,
Yeah.
if they're in school, at their schools, except when they're at their friends' houses, like
Right.
when we're hovering over them like helicopter parents. And do we do some of that? Yeah, some of it's just like, no. But if you really think about it long term,
Mhm.
unless it's something that they want to do, and the only reason they typically want to do it is it's either fun and easy, or because they know cause and effect. And it's just
Yeah.
been really interesting to me to watch these young girls at this stage. I mean, every day's a battle, right?
Mhm.
Every day's a lesson, every day's something that you learn, but it's been fun to watch them start to own this themselves. Now, why wouldn't I want this? Or, so in what order do you eat your food? Well, we eat our vegetables and fiber, then we eat our protein, and then we eat our carbs, right? At 7 years old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very
Or
proud of my daughter, who is quite a bit older, and I have grandchildren that are grown, fully grown. And when I go to her house, um, it almost looks like my kitchen, and it gets passed down. And so
Mhm.
it's really wonderful, to see that. They go to the farmers market. So the children are used to going to the farmers market. They know the difference between a pasture raised, you know, or just a regular egg. They know the difference, and so it's amazing. That's how we teach it. That's how we get it to work, is we pass it down, we pass it on, and we pass it down. So it's very important that our children get it, because one day they'll be parents and grandparents, and and it goes along like such. That I mean, it's really tough for me. I've learned to not say anything, but walking through it, I don't even go to regular grocery stores anymore. But you're walking down an aisle, and you see a mother who's given her 2-year old a jelly donut, with a spoon, so she could scoop out the jelly to keep her quiet while she's shopping. And I mean, seriously, I used to just want I just used to want to shake her and say, "What are you doing? Do you know what you know what you're feeding your beautiful, precious child?" And so it's really important. It's important for the parents to get it so that the children get it and understand. And you
Absolutely.
know, and there I have friends who, you know, they'll sit down, they'll have coffee and chocolate cake for breakfast or whatever, and they give their kids, you know, eggs or bake, whatever, a more healthy breakfast, and they think that that's what's going to stick. But they're watching their parents, what the parents are doing. Like I said, it's really what you do, not so much what you say. And you can tell your children, do as I say, not as I do, but that's just not reality. So
Mhm.
you have to, action speaks louder than words. I think that's the statement, right?
Yes. Yes. That's I definitely know that our kids wouldn't probably even try kimchi for many years if Seth did not eat it. And it's actually quite funny. The girls frequently will be like, "Mom, why won't you eat kimchi?" I'm like, "I don't really enjoy the taste. I don't even enjoy the smell. I think it's nasty."
Yeah.
But then I say, "But I do like sauerkraut or,
Yes.
other
Okay.
things
That's the
that
same
are
thing.
really." Yes.
Yeah. So,
So
but
I'm
sauerkraut,
like
I
I
mean, anything that's fermented like that is really good for the gut. It's very, very good. And so if you don't like kimchi, you know, once in a while, it's, you know, have a nice scoop of a sauerkraut. I once made it. I went out and bought this big crock from Germany. It's a special thing. It took like 2 months or something. I mean, now they've got ways that you can make it like in a week or something. But it took like 2 months to make this in a big crock thing, and it was just delicious. I was like, it's a big hassle, but I really enjoyed making it. It was kind of like a science experiment, you know. So
Yeah.
a tasty
yeah,
one.
Well,
so that's
we
good.
had, speaking of farmers markets and sauerkraut, I saw that
Yes.
reaction.
Yes.
So they're south. You know, we live, you know, outside of town, on the mountain, and about, I don't know, 5 miles, 3 to 5 miles south of us. They do a very small farmers market in the summer, and I don't know her name, but again, Stephanie's the one who got us to this farmers market. If it was up to me, we would have never gone, and we would have never
That's
been
true.
introduced. What was that amazing sauerkraut that she made?
Turmeric?
Oh,
Oh yes,
oh,
turmeric sauerkraut,
Yes.
going on my
wow.
all-time favorite list.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
lots of different kinds, and that's been our favorite so far.
I can't
It's
wait to
absolutely
Oh,
incredible.
I'd
this year
love
to
the
buy
recipe
some more.
of that. Oh, that's wonderful because anything that's been fermented like that is really fantastic. I've not heard of turmeric sauerkraut, but I'd like to try it.
Yeah.
Well, and you might think turmeric. I mean, anybody knows what turmeric tastes like by itself. Nasty, right? But she made a beautiful. I mean, I think we bought various flavors, but that was my. I loved them all, but
Oh,
that was
that's
my
great.
favorite. She did have some purple sauerkraut, some beet sauerkraut as well, or
I
something.
think so.
But
It was good.
I will say we just ordered. You know, it's coming up spring here in Utah, and we do organic gardening. We're building 2 greenhouses. We've got
Oh,
32,
nice.
30-ish raised beds, doing European hugel culture adapted for the Utah climate. And I just ordered out. I know Steph's not so excited as I am about this, especially for the smell, but we're going to raise an entire bed of Napa cabbage and then make homemade kimchi out of it so
Oh,
that you will
good.
never be without
Oh, good.
the smell of kimchi.
I'm excited.
And every time,
Well, you can also make sauerkraut out of that as well. So,
That's what I was
I'll
thinking.
split the difference with you. We'll dedicate some of that to sauerkraut. Fair
Thank you.
enough.
Yes. Deal.
that's
Deal.
very kind of you. Yeah, it's important.
What are the top 5 blood markers that we should know?
Well, obviously, when you go to your doctor, they'll do a CBC. And what's really important is a lot of truth has come out about the science. A CBC basically does um, your cholesterol, and often a physician will look and say, "Oh, your LDL is high. Let's put you on some drugs." Yeah, no, they're really finding, they've really done some in-depth stuff, and a lot of science is coming out that it's you. What you want to watch is your triglycerides, your HDL, and your triglycerides. As long as you keep your triglycerides low, uh, what they say is under 150, but if it's under 100, it's even better. Your LDL doesn't really matter. You can actually, um, and I have to say as a disclaimer, anything that I say is not to be taken as a prescription or instructions. It's just my personal opinion. But I like to keep my cholesterol at about 245. And I have friends that are on cholesterol medication that are under 200. And I'm like, you do realize that cholesterol, most of it's made in the liver. And it's made because you need it to patch up any blood vessels or any of the veins or minute things in the body. That's what the cholesterol does, and to interrupt that or to falsely or chemically keep the body from doing that can be pretty dangerous, in my personal opinion. So as long as your HDL is good, if it's in the 60s 70s, if it's high enough, and your triglycerides are low, those are markers you really want to know. Glucose, always glucose, if it's 100 or less, great. Now A1C is different. A1C is actually it's like a 3 month kind of an average, so it tells a lot more. They can look at glucose, but if they're not getting your A1C done, it's hard to tell how close or far away you are from being in a diabetic range. Diabetic range usually will start about, well, on glucose will start about 125. In an A1C test, if you're over 6, you're pushing that. You want to stay in the fives and in the low fives if you can. I mean, occasionally mine is like 5.8. Yeah, that's a little high, but I watch it. And so when, if it's like that, then I know I need to adjust what I'm doing. Um, as far as, I think one of the most important things that nobody tests for is insulin levels, fasting insulin levels. It's amazing. Obviously I'm a diabetic specialist, and people that come to me, they don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like, what do you mean your doctor isn't checking your insulin levels? Because
Oh
as the
my goodness.
insulin levels climb, it means that your pancreas, which is really taking instructions from the liver, this is a liver thing, okay? But what it means is that you're not handling the glucose that's coming in. And so the body keeps on having to raise the insulin, which is actually what's going to do the damage to your kidneys and to your heart. So they all work together. We're not, we're a big symbiotic unit, that all works together. So I mean, those are very, very important tests. I like, I always advise homocysteine, and people don't realize what homocysteine is, but if you add a blood test called homocysteine, it actually can show how near or far you are from having a cardiac event, because it has to
Mm.
do with the ratios of folate in the blood, which is akin to how is your body dealing with the B vitamins. And the same thing if you're moving towards diabetes, it's always the same case. Number one, you're going to get low in chromium. It might not show in a blood test, but if you start taking chromium with GTF, it's going to improve the way your body handles the glucose when you put it in. And so there's so much we can do about it. And if I mean, that's a really big question. For me, those are really the important markers that we look at. There's also, I mean, there's a ton more, obviously, but it depends on what you're looking at.
So, Sheila, can you define for us live blood analysis, also known as microscopy?
What I do is live blood. I only take one drop of blood from the finger, and we put it under a micron microscope. It's completely different than a blood test. Okay. We're actually looking on a very big screen at your actual cells. And so I can tell, blood cells should be red, but if the center of the blood cell is losing its color, you're losing your hemoglobin, and you'd be amazed at how many people are doing that. Well, your hemoglobin is what causes your blood cells to be red, but what else it does, it feeds every cell, it feeds every tissue and the organs. It feeds it hydration, it feeds it oxygen and nutrients. So if you're losing the that center, you're also cutting down on the efficiency of what's going into the bloodstream. It's so important. I mean, to get live blood, it's, I can see, everybody could see because you sit right there with me and you see how much yeast is in the blood, how much bacteria is in the blood, what kind of bacteria, what do you got swimming around in there? So it's really important to take a deep, I think it's very important to take a deep dive and know what's going on a molecular level like that, because you're never going to be healthier than your cells. And from there, that's where you really can avoid and you can really help yourself just by knowing, oh, well, maybe I would like to take turmeric, maybe make some golden milk or tea at night, to help the inflammation that's happening in my body. Maybe I would like to, there's all things you can do. Maybe I better start taking a little bit of chromium. So there's just so many things that you can do, and I don't know. I'm into nitric oxide right now, but I don't buy into eat a bunch of beet powder, which will definitely jack up your glucose. So there's so many other ways of increasing your nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is so important, especially if you're over 50, because that actually is what causes the blood to flow smoothly. It avoids clotting. It can avoid, different events. And if people used to hum. I know this sounds crazy, but people used to hum all day long. And I mean, walking around humming a tune. People don't do that anymore because everybody's got iPods on or whatever. Just humming. If you just hum, and you can feel the resonance here in your mouth, and it branches out, goes into the vagus nerve here. That alone will increase your nitric oxide. So don't just hum in the shower. Start humming in the car.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, you've been doing this humming thing lately.
I do it sometimes. I did hear how it helps to stimulate the vagus nerve, and so especially like when you almost get in a car accident or things like that, and you're like totally, I don't even know what to call it, but I'll hum and it goes away and I'm calm and I'm good again. And it's pretty amazing how quickly that can help you.
Yeah, humming can do a lot for your cells. It's pretty. You can't get any simpler than that, right?
Yeah, and it's free.
Everybody can hum, and
Yes.
yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
I have a question about when you do you examine the blood. Do you ever see parasites in there?
Yeah, you can see it. So, yeah, you can see them. Sometimes they don't carry a sign on them that says I'm a parasite, but you can tell. I know people are like, "Where's the parasites?" And I'm like, "Okay, it's because they're in the plasma." But what you can see is sometimes you can see these little teeny things floating around the plasma, and then they'll turn a different color, and they'll turn white in the plasma, and you can see it. And I mean, we very seldom see people. Parasites is a really big deal right now. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I have friends that are having some problems. They have cysts and things like that, and I'm like, there's no test because there's no real test for parasites, because now the parasites are burrowing into the tissue and into the organs. But there's tons of things that you can do to rid your body of them. Even pumpkin seeds, just raw pumpkin seeds can help. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff on that. But if you have cysts and the doctors, they want to do all this stuff. Yeah. I mean, my friend is having her ovaries taken out because she's got them inside the ovaries. She wouldn't let them do a biopsy, which I personally agree 110%, And I can tell you the reason for that if you want me to. But, if it comes to that, because they're finding that a lot of what is being diagnosed as cancer is actually huge colonies of parasites. But you really can't tell the difference. And even if you do a biopsy, you can't stick a needle in a water balloon without millions of microscopic drops of water being released into the body. Well, the same
Mhm.
thing goes if you're doing that, for a
Mhm.
diagnostic test. So, a lot of people are like, "Well, I have to get a biopsy." I'm like, "No, you don't." I just went through it, and I'm like, "Yep, no biopsy." And my doctor agreed with me. I mean, I just I
Wow.
looked her straight in the face and I said, "So let me ask you, the reason I'm saying no to the biopsy is because I know that once you put a puncture biopsy, it's going to release a lot of cells, right?" And she didn't say yet. She went like this. So doctors know this stuff. Why don't they tell their patients that? And they're, well, yeah, money. But there again, people have to be, if you're educated enough and you know stuff, and even if you're just watching a podcast like this, question. I mean, because
Mhm.
if you ask the doctor point blank, I believe a good doctor would tell you the truth. Mine did. I mean, there was no way. I'd already said no,
Mm.
and I took care of what it was completely on my own. I figured it out and took care of it. And she was shocked. I went back and she's like, "What? How did you do this?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I told her it's easy, but you just have to be able to figure it out because physicians since 1940. Now, prior to 1940, actually in my Anatomy of Healing and Wellness book. I do a chapter on this because before 1940, the allopathic doctors worked with all of the homeopathic doctors. Cancer wasn't a problem. If you had cancer, the allopathic doctors didn't deal with it at all. They sent you to the people that were healing it with different herbs and different kinds of remedies. And after the 40s, when certain people took over the medical association and started the pharmaceutical association, they outlawed it. And I put a chapter in my book about that because people think it's always been that way, and it hasn't. So it's just really, I think, important, especially today, to stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. We have to really
Mhm.
educate ourselves.
Mhm.
So,
I actually saw a short video just yesterday on all of that you just talked about,
oh,
and
cool.
sent it out to a bunch of people because I need to share what I learn.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, we have to take, it's kind of time, we have to take responsibility for our health. I mean, for so
Mhm.
long, I think people kind of got really lazy, and, it wasn't really noticeable. Oh, I'll just go to the doctor and they'll fix it. And like, yeah, no, no, you have to take responsibility for your own health. And when it might seem like a big mountain, but once you do that, it's like, wow, and once you prove to yourself that you can do it, which you can, and then it's something that you have, it's something that you have inside. And we teach our children, it's wonderful to have the confidence to know that there are natural ways of taking care of your body. So I'm not, like I said, there are times when we need them. you know,
Mhm.
if you break something, I want to go to a doctor and have him fix the bone, right? Okay. But that
Absolutely.
doesn't mean I have to take the pain medication, because I know the pain medication will slow the bone growth. So the thing
Mhm.
is that if you're educated about it, you will be your own advocate and you'll know how to deal with these things. So,
Actually, I remembered something else, and it has to do with live blood analysis. You said that in many other countries, they're in their diagnostic approach to treating people, they look at live blood analysis much sooner than we do here in the United States.
first, yeah, they do that first. And I can tell you a little story if we have time. I'll tell you a little story.
Let's do
I
it.
had Okay, I had somebody that was a professor who was kind of, uh, you know, very allopathic minded, and thought that live blood analysis was just, how do you say, they call it pseudoscience, like it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not real at all. And I looked, I smiled at him, and I said, so I understand, because I knew he had cancer. And I said,
Mhm.
I understand you're recovering from cancer. And he said, yes, I am. And I said, so let me ask you, when they diagnosed you, what was the first thing they did? He goes, well, I said, did they send you to a hematologist? Oh, yeah. It's first they send you to a hematologist. Mm-hmm. And did he take a drop of blood from your finger and put it under a microscope? But they don't let you look. They'll take the blood, or sometimes they'll use blood that's been centrifuged. In other words, they'll
Mm.
make it become alive again. That's not really live blood. But anyway, he said yes, yeah. And I went, well, there you have it. That's what microscopy is. It's taking one drop of blood, live blood, and putting it under a microscope and actually analyzing. I'm certified in it. I actually have a 4-week course where I can certify people to do this. I've been doing it a
Mm.
long time and really good at it. But yeah, where you can analyze, what you see there. All the different kinds of blood cells, and if you have a lot of lymphocytes. If I see someone who has a lot of yeast and a lot of lymphocytes floating around, I usually tell that person, I think you need to go and get a blood test from your doctor. And I don't usually mention why. I just say you need to have a very close look at your blood, get a lot of diagnostics. Because if you have a lot of lymphocytes, that means that your lymphatic system has been engaged. Now that can happen if you've got the flu or whatever, but it can also happen if you're starting to get cancer. So
Mm.
you get a lot of different markers like that it gives you a kind of a heads up warning, and I think that's important, obviously.
Why do you think here in the West we're not looking at that first, or more giving it more priority?
Well, somewhere along the line, I believe, in my personal opinion, our medical association went off the rails. They're owned by the pharmaceutical industry. If a doctor recommends, they're not allowed. If they recommend an herb or what, they can lose their license. And so when a doctor says, well, I don't know, you it's not that they might not know, they can't tell you, or they risk losing their license to practice. They are emboldened to the indentured to the pharmaceutical industry. Many people get huge kickbacks for procedures and for different things. So our whole industry, unfortunately, healthcare, it's sick care. It's not healthcare, it's sick care. And if they can keep you maintained but not cure you, they've got a client for life. So, to me, a good doctor, or someone like me, a good practitioner, I want people to get well and go away. And I have friends that are like, oh, I have friends that are practitioners say, yeah, she's been my client for 12 years. I'm like, well, then something is wrong. If you haven't, if you haven't helped this person actually, become completely healthy where they don't need you anymore, you, then something isn't right there. And it's kind of what I think what's happened to the medical association in this country. I mean, the old country doctors, they'd see you when you have to, and they tell you how to fix it and go fix it, and you don't come and see them anymore. Now it's different. It's just more and more medication, and then you have to get another medication because the side effects of this medication is so significant and horrible that they want you to take this other medication to help nullify what the other medication is doing. I mean, I know that sounds insane, and to me, that's what's happened to our medical associate. Well, the whole apparatus. It's become sick care and not well care, and I think there's a big movement. We want health care. We want to be healthy again, and I think it's really becoming significant and noticeable, and that's why things are changing, and that's very inspiring.
I recently saw an excerpt of an interview Jordan Peterson
Oh, I
speaking
love
with RFK Jr.
that.
And Jordan Peterson asked this question: why are we struggling with obesity? And the first words out of RFK Jr.'s mouth were, because our food is poisoned. So the question to you
Exactly.
is,
Yeah.
elaborate on that. How is our food supply being poisoned right now?
Really? From seed to stem, let me tell you. First of all, our uh, the soil has been depleted from minerals. Minerals are the most important things, especially what they call vulvic minerals. That come from the earth. Um, and it's our soil has been depleted for years. They don't put all the minerals back in the soil. They just keep planting and planting and planting and planting. I mean, 30 years ago, uh, a serving of broccoli was like, taking a bomb of fabulous stuff that's going to heal a lot of things. Today, you'd have to eat like 20 bags of broccoli to get the nutrients that you would have been able to get from one small little serving of broccoli. So our soil has been depleted. Then you want to add to that, oh my gosh, Monsanto and these people, they're spraying. There's like 1,000 chemicals. There are there's disruptors, there's hormone disruptors, there's pesticides, insecticides, things. It's poison. These are poisons that they use to kill things. And when they spraying them all over all of the vegetables, and a lot of the vegetables are being sprayed with, it's almost like they're turning them into plastics. It's crazy what's going on in the food industry. And I think the whole thing should be stopped. They need to, I understand we need a lot of food, but if you're not going to replenish the soil and you're not going to put good fresh water that doesn't have fluoride in it, which is a poison, it's a horrible toxin. I mean, they
Neurotoxin.
yeah, the neurotoxin too. Yeah, they used it in nerve gas, and it's in the drinking water, and it's being used to spray all. That's what they use for the water. So from the very get go, anything that's been farmed, what they would call normal farming in America now, is actually toxic. And unfortunately, it's hard. And even, there used to be an app. I used to have an app on my phone that I could push strawberry, and it would come up and it would tell me all the toxins and all the neurotoxins and all the things. It would be a long list of what was in there. I mean, it would be crazy. And then I could push organic. Now, organic still had some in there, but they had like maybe 30 as compared to 550. They took that app. That app doesn't exist anymore. They don't want you to know. So it's so that's what's happened. I mean, it starts, between, they're poisoning us with the air and the chemtrails, which of course is particleized barium, strontium, and aluminum. It's killing all the trees because the soil is soaking in the aluminum, and it's not the drought that's killing the trees. I'm telling you right now, it's the fact that the roots of these trees can't uptake water anymore because they have particleized aluminum in them. And you can talk to a lot of different doctors that are testing for testing. So many people have such high amounts of aluminum. Aluminum in the body is toxic, mostly toxic to the brain and everything
Mhm.
else, and the reproductive organs. So if you need more of an answer than that, I could probably go a little deeper, but that's the answer. that's
That's
that's what's
page
happening.
one. That's
Yeah,
page one of the book, right?
yeah. That's what's unfortunately happened to our produce, which is why it's such a good idea to have a greenhouse. I mean, and it's even tough to grow vegetables because of what's happened to the soil. And I think it's brilliant that you're building greenhouses, because that's the only way. All the stuff that's coming out of the sky will fall onto the greenhouse. And if control the air control inside the greenhouse, you're going to be much better off. So
Make
it's a
make
lot
your
of work.
choice. right?
Yeah.
Make your choice.
Oh,
You
absolutely. Yeah, but it's a work of joy. Like, integrative wellness, this big thing that I put on, it is so much work. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, you know what? It's a work of joy. I'm doing it from my heart. It's for the community, and you can come into one place and walk around for a couple of days, and you actually talk to the scientists that are building things and how things work, and why is this good, and how is it that you can look into my eyes and see 4 generations back and tell me what I should
Wow.
look for. I mean, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. We have the far infrared. Why is far infrared sauna the best sauna? You can. It's the best for the blood vessels, okay? But it's
yes.
amazing, and it's so much fun. So we want everybody to come.
It does sound really fun.
It is. Oh, yeah. I hope we'll put something out so all your people. It's in May 17th and 18th.
Absolutely. We're going to dive into that show here before we end the show, because I want to have create a real clear picture of why they need to be in Las Vegas and when.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So what advice do you have for women looking to make sustainable changes in their diet and fitness routines?
Okay, well, okay, so that's a very big question, and it deserves a really good answer. So, as women, we're nurturers, we're creators, and sometimes we put ourselves last.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking care of kids, we're taking care of family, and it's like, gee, I was going to take that walk today, but I just don't have time. I so I'm going to put it. I'll
Guilty.
do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes because tomorrow is just as busy, right? And so,
Yeah.
what we were speaking about a little earlier, taking care of yourself first. It's really, even if you have to get up a little early or whatever, but you must take care of yourself first. And if you have female children, it's a wonderful example because uh, as far as exercise goes, it depends on where you're at. You do the exercise that is best for you. It depends on your age. Walking is always so wonderful. I'm not a big fan of running. Every time you run and you put your foot on the ground, you've got 2,000 pounds of pressure on your knees. Do that for 10 or 15 years. By the time you're in your 50s and 60s, you're going to have some problems. So, but I'm a big fan of walking, of hiking, of swimming. Oh boy, all these things during the summer. Get into the rivers, get the minerals as much as you can be outside. I'm a huge earthing fan. If there's nothing else but getting your bare feet in the grass, and you know what? Get your kids with you. Come on, take off your shoes. We're going to walk around the backyard. If you've got grass or something like that, walk around and talk about how the negative ions you're doing in exchange with the earth. Actually, your body's uptaking the negative ions. It's very, very healthy. It doesn't take a lot of time to do that. And regardless of the age of your children, you can get them to do it with you. And as far as food, and my advice would just be sure you're eating all organic. When you can get things that are grown, like in a greenhouse by your friends or whatever, like at a market on the weekends, that's even better. Be sure and practice uh, eating the vegetables first, and then the protein, and then carbohydrates. If we train our children to do that instead of, sticking a donut in front of them in the morning or something, by the time they're even 10 or 11, they'll know, oh, good, I'm going to have this for breakfast, and, and Protein is really important. Uh, so for so long, they've kind of demonized protein, and they're finding
Yes.
now that it was just not true. That was not true science. Okay. Our body needs fat. Alzheimer's has increased unbelievably significantly, right? Well, guess what? It coalesces with the same time that we were told that fat's bad. The brain is like 70 to 80% fat. So we better be starting to eat fat, and and not be afraid of it. because the body will deal with them. So as far as what to eat, keep the protein good. If you're having eggs, try not to look for price, because look for it. These eggs are like gold now, but you know what? It's worth it. Your body is worth giving good quality. Quality outdoes the quantity every time. Don't look for the prices. If you can, go to a butcher, get grass-fed meat, all grass-fed, um, and make sure the higher quality you put into your body, the higher quality health you're going to get, the stronger your immune system is going to be, and the more it's going to help the brain develop and keep you cognitive aware into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and into your hundreds. And that's what we want, right? For ourselves and our family and our loved ones. So that would be
Yes.
my advice.
Something recently I learned about fats and how important it is when you're nursing a baby and how that baby is utilizing that fat. So if you're not replacing that fat, especially on the brain,
Yeah.
that's why they say that women typically get mom brain. It's actually can be caused from the fat that the baby is using from your body.
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I know a lot of people who are vegan, and it's like, I'm like, okay, so maybe just take a piece of meat or something and chew on it. You don't have to swallow it. But I know that sounds awful, but there are
I love
enzymes.
it.
There are enzymes in red meat that you need for your bone and your brain. And there's somebody that has a, a station, on a carnivore station. She was vegan for 6-7 years. She had uncontrollable outbreaks in her face. I mean, the girl was like in her 20s and she was basically dying. She had so many things wrong with her, and she went from being a vegan to being a carnivore, which is opposite ends of the spectrum. But everything went away. And I think you have to do what's right for you, test things out. But we do need high protein, and I've done a lot of studying on carnivore for the last year and a half. And it's I don't have anything bad to say about it. A lot of people are. I mean, I had a couple of people that were on my program that said, I don't know if I can talk to you anymore because, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm just telling the truth. You can go on my 8-week program that has all these things on it that work. I'm like the arugula queen, right? And it's good for your liver. But if you need a specific kind of a reboot, doing carnivore for a couple of months will redo your whole metabolism system. And so,
Absolutely.
you have to know what your goal is, what you need. So, like I said, I think it's always, not just one way.
Yes.
I'm pretty open about that.
I think we're going to get together and we're going to get into a kitchen, the three of us. Maybe we can invite some other people. I'm going to bring, I love the meat, and I know you love meat. And Steph had some amazing filet mignon for breakfast. Pasture raised right here. Well, we make our own. We raise our own beef.
Wonderful.
I'll bring that'll be my contribution. Steph's going to bring her cilantro, jalapeno, hummus. You're going to bring the bonbons.
Yes.
We'll have our girls bring the kimchi
and sauerkraut.
and the sauerkraut.
Yummy.
And we're going to feast. And we're going to bring recipes for all of these.
Sounds good.
Sounds excellent. Well, I have a cookbook, and we haven't talked about a lot of stuff, but that's okay. I have CDs too.
I did not know that. Oh, tell us.
This is the
Vibrant Life Cook.
Yep. And it's got a lot of my recipes that are in the program, and it's amazing. And there's pancakes in there that don't have any gluten in them or anything. And I took the pictures. I mean, it's a wonderful cookbook, and I have a number of books that are, of course, they're all about health and wellness, And the Love and Illusion is wonderful. It's really about emotional clarity and about breaking the spell, not demonizing anybody, but actually healing yourself from within so there's no charge on it. Because if there's an emotional charge, it's hurting you. So
Yeah,
you could do a
definitely.
whole show on that.
I read a quote yesterday and I'm trying to remember what it said, but essentially it was saying not to, like, your mother didn't just pass down bad habits. And so I don't know.
She passed down good
Yeah, it's implying that
juju.
there were also good things that she taught you,
Oh,
to not
absolutely. Oh,
demonize
yeah.
a person just because there were some bad things that we all pass down, right? There are
Yes.
also good things to focus on. And I just
Yeah.
loved that. I mean, that can be used for father or anybody, right? But
Right. Well, I'll tell you one thing my mom used to say. Well, she said two things that were my mother lived to be 90, over 96. And she used to say, Sheila, if you take care of your digestion the first half of your life, it will take care of you the second half of your life. That was pretty
oh,
smart for someone who was born in like 1907, right? And then the other
yeah.
thing she said that probably saved my life a couple of times, she'd say, Sheila, when in doubt, don't. That's it. When in doubt, don't. Sometimes because I've always been kind of a rebel and wild. I do all these crazy things, right? And so there's all these things that you stop and pause sometimes, and you're like, okay, should I do? And so she's like, when in doubt, don't.
That's probably why you're alive, because I know you
I'm
did a lot of
still,
crazy things. But
yeah, I'm still here, so it worked.
well, Sheila, we need to get we need to get all your books. We need to get pronto 2 copies of your cookbook, signed, of course.
Of course.
One for us in our household,
Yes.
and another for our VIP listeners. If you're listening to the show and you're not currently a VIP community member, our self-care community at theforeveryoungshow.com, go to theforeveryoungshow.com. Right there on our splash page, you can join for free our VIP community. And we share special information. We share clips from this show that you didn't hear in the full length version. We call it For Your Eyes Only. And we have giveaways, and we just share a little more, take you backstage. And we're going to be sharing one of these copies that we're ordering from Sheila, signed for her cookbook. So Sheila will get that taken care of. And thank
Okay.
you.
You want me to tell you where to go get it?
And for everybody else, you need to go order it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that you can order it. Yeah, you
Yes.
just go to True Life Solutions Marketplace.com. I don't sell on Amazon anymore because I used to sell my books and then they didn't pay me and I had no recourse. I'm like, wait a minute. But True Life
That's not
Solutions
fair.
Marketplace.com. And that's
Perfect.
my CDs and my books and everything there.
Wonderful.
And that'll be in the show notes.
Okay.
Well, Sheila, this has been absolutely amazing. And before we get to the final topic, kind of the summit of our conversation, I feel like we could have talked for I feel like we could sit and talk for days, Sheila. I could sit and talk. It's like having your very own Barbara O'Neill right here
Yes.
with Sheila Z, and excited to continue our friendship as we're working on things together.
Yes.
But thank you so much. We didn't get to a third of what we could have talked to today, or what was on our plan to talk about, and certainly not a hundredth of what you have to offer. So thank you. But let's give an invitation for people, and a strong invitation for when they need to be in Las Vegas, why they need to be in Las Vegas at the Integrative. Yes,
Wellness.
thank you. At the Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference in Las Vegas. The where, the when, what are they going to expect? Why is it a must attend event? I mean, you have thousands of people who are going to be coming through and who have come through this conference. Just give us the reasons, tell them what to expect, the dates, how they can get more information and register, etc.
Yes, I like everybody to come and attend the Integrative Wellness Expo and Conference. It's a full 2-day expo and conference. We have 14 speakers, so there's speakers every day. It's the most unique and wonderful. It's all about alternative medicine, staying 30 to your 90, and so many, not only prizes and giveaways, demos, but come and speak to the people that created some of these things. And we'll talk to you about like the iridology, your eyes, the infrared saunas. Come on in, come get in a beamer chair. There's over 70 exhibitions, and it's just really wonderful. If you go to True Life Solutions Marketplace.com, and you can just go to events. There's an event page there. But also IW Vegas. If you want to know about it, go to iwvegas.com, and that's a shortcut, and go to attend. And actually, the best deal is our VIP ticket. A VIP ticket for the whole weekend is only $39, and that gets you into all of the speakers. We have yoga. You can bring a yoga mat and do yoga up on the stage with our yoga people. There's going to be like a kirtan on Saturday night that you can be part of. So the VIP tickets are really the greatest thing. It's a very unique. It's all about taking care of yourself. It's all about the wisdom, mind, body, and spirit. And there's something there for everybody. We have the most incredible array of people coming from all over the country to share their wisdom and to share all the newest and latest technologies, the frequencies, and everything else. And so we'd love to have you come. So go to iwvegas.com and go to attend, click around, and then, and the other True Life Solutions Marketplace.com for any of the books, CDs, or to find out about the event. So we look forward to seeing you May 17th and 18th in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's May 17th and 18th, Las Vegas, Nevada at the Ahern Hotel. It's really great.
Wonderful. We'll have about 6 weeks of lead time. So if you're listening to this show on the release date here in in latter March, you've got about 6 weeks to make sure that you plan that trip to Vegas. What's going to happen in Vegas is not going to stay in Vegas, because you're going to take these tools back and literally be able to live, staying 30 until you're 90. I know it sounds like your type of place. Infrared sauna, yoga,
Yep.
chocolate bonbons with Sheila.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, Sheila, we are so grateful. Thank you for giving a glimpse for us and our listeners and our community members into your life and your wisdom and truly your soul, just for making this world, raising the consciousness, right? And changing generations.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. This has been absolutely a joy and amazing. You two are wonderful, and I look forward to our further connection. So thank you.
And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.